All right, and welcome. This is going to head and be video number 3 for the module 1. Next, we're going to talk about the terminal itself, okay? So in the last video, we talked about basically give you an introduction to Linux and what it is and how it works in that kind of sense. So now we're going to start talking about and went toward what's called the Linux terminal. This is going to be the introduction to the Linux terminal. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, in Windows, I'm in my Windows system right now. I'm running a virtual, I'm running a hypervisor, which allows me to go ahead and host virtual machines on my actual computer that are not, I can run multiple operating systems at once, which you can get that through the chapter 1, okay? What I really want to go ahead and stress about is that the Linux terminal is very much similar to the Windows command prompt. So here I am, I'm on my Windows machine. I typed in CMD here in my search bar, and I'm able to bring up my command prompt. And from here, we can do things such as, ipconfig. We can go ahead and do, a dir and give me a listing of the files. So how does this correlate to the Linux environment? Well, Linux has a very similar actual application, but it's called terminal. Okay, so a couple interesting things you need to kind of look at. So this is the Linux terminal. The way I get there is in CentOS, I went to activities, and then I went to terminal. Okay, sometimes it may not be there, so you may have to go to show all applications and then type in terminal here so you can find it. Okay. Those of you that are on the online system, you may not be able to find it. You may have to go ahead and go to show applications. Those of you that are using your system in the classroom, just know that you can, if you can't find it here or it's not here, if you wanted to bring it to, and also if you want to go ahead and actually just push it to the, you can go ahead and bring it out. And let's see, we're good there. All right, cool. So now, again, here's my terminal. The terminal is very much similar to the command prompt of the Windows environment. And like I said in the previous lecture, that Mac OS also has a Linux terminal as well. You just type in terminal in Searchlight and you'll be able to find it. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So the terminal is broken down to a couple of different things. So you can notice right here, this right here corresponds to the user that I'm logged into. Okay, so as you can see right here, I'm logged into student. All right, and then this right here is called test subject. All right, well, what does that actually mean? Well, if I go ahead and do, I can kind of look and see, a couple different things. Test subject may be the name of the actual, this one, it could be the name of the machine itself. It could just be, where it's sitting at. Then this right here, this corresponds to where it currently sit. In the Linux environment, if you see a tilde, okay, a tilde, that stands for home. So this stands for your home directory. So if you have a tilde, this actually stands for your home directory. So we can see that we are actually currently, this is where we reside in. We reside in our home directory or tilde. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'll go over that a little bit more in the next video. We start talking about a couple different commands, okay? So let's look at this as a little bit of an effort. The next thing too is then to go ahead and note is this $sign right here. And this $sign corresponds to the, whether it's a user or whether I am the administrator. And in the administrator in the Linux environment, if you are an administrator, you're going to be referred to as root, okay? Root is going to be considered the administrator or the God account that has all the privileges, all the permissions to do whatever they want. So if I wanted to go ahead and switch over into root, you're going to notice that notice the difference. First of all, I went from being student to being root. So I changed users. So you can automatically see I'm now the root user instead of the user student. I'm still in the same computer. I have a home directory. Now here's the kicker, and this will come up a little bit later too, but just kind of note, the home directory is different for root compared to users, okay? And we'll see that a little bit later. Now notice the difference. Remember I said a $sign corresponds to a user account. When I change into the root user or the administrator, notice that it changes to a $, or in the more common lexicon, it's a hashtag, okay? So we have this idea of the terminal, and from here we can run a couple different commands. We can go ahead and do like, we can do a couple different things. Like if we wanted to go ahead and actually see what our present working directory was, it's going to go ahead and do that. Let's say we want to go ahead and change directories, and we're going to go, we can change directories, to one before, one after. It all depends on how you want to do this. But this is actually the terminal as a whole. And from here and everything, we can do a couple different things. We can go ahead and say, who am I? Oh, I'm root. And I'm going to go into more detail in the next video on how to go ahead and use some commands. But I want to go ahead and really stress that this right here is the Linux terminal. You can actually, and here's another cool feature. So one of the cool things about different between the command prompt and the terminal is that the terminal actually operates very similar to a browser. So I can actually have multiple tabs open, And so I can be running one thing here and then running a whole different set of commands here, and then running a whole different set of commands here. And I can run a whole nother different set of commands here. So I can go ahead and do, pwd here for student. Because look, now in this actual essence, in this instance of this terminal, notice that I am the root user right now. But in this instance, I went back to being student. And to verify, who am I? I'm student. So we can go ahead and actually update and move around our systems. We can then also, if we look at this right thing, if we wanted to go ahead and make this a little bit easier, we can go ahead and change the color scheme. Some of y'all may need to change the color scheme. So we can go to view, we can set to full screen mode. We can go ahead and go to terminal. We can do character encodings. We can go ahead and set the tabs. So you can move between the tabs. You can come over here. We can copy. Actually, that's one of the really cool things about Linux is that I can go ahead and come over here, right click, copy, paste. There we go. Okay, I can copy and paste in the terminal, which is really nice. If I get too much clutter, I can type in the word clear, and that clears up my actual terminal screen. So we can do a lot. The terminal is very, very robust in what you have the capability of doing. So I want you to go ahead and really understand that overall, I think this is actually really, in my opinion, can be superior. Now, just a way in caveat, Windows also has now started integrating Linux commands into their operating system as well. And although you have to use the PowerShell command prompt to execute them, they do, if you know Linux commands, you can do the same Linux commands in Windows as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one video a little bit short. This is the introduction to the Linux terminal as a whole. And what we're going to go ahead and do now is in the next video, I'm going to start walking through some basic commands that you're going to need to know in the very beginning for you to be successful. Once we go ahead and go through that, then we'll go ahead and the next video I'll show you expectations for the rest of the module, what's to be expected of you, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. All right, see you on the next video.